grew up in Sydney in a suburb called Earlwood. So I grew up with my mum and my brother.
Yeah, so I grew up a couple of different places. Born in Deniliquin, a couple of years in Adelaide, and then we moved up to Austinville when I was 11.
Growing up, well, I grew up in a very small place in the back blocks during the war.
Got two sisters, one older, one younger. I'm the middle child and the victim.
Julie and I wanted to get out of the city, so when I decided to take a job up here, I got a job up at St Vinny's Hospital in Lismore as an OT, and yeah, we didn't care if it was up or down the coast, but Julie likes the warm climate, so we headed up here.
So the church made the big decision that every now and again the boys and the girls would meet together socially, and of course that's where I met Noel, and we eventually married. And
we had a bit of tragedy early on in my life. My next door neighbour and my best friend was killed while we were playing one afternoon on the road. I was 8, she was 7. So that experience of the tragedy and loss, I think, really shaped who I was, because I just had a lot of big feelings and I didn't really know what to do with them or why it had happened.
My story, I grew up in a non-Christian family. My parents divorced when I was 2. I was sent along to communion and confirmation in the Catholic Church, but that was church wasn't a part of our life in any way.
But neither of us were Christians, even though we were these fine, upstanding, church-going young couple.
Well, this boy I liked said he wouldn't go out with me because I wasn't a Christian.
I guess I had scripture at school. It probably was late high school when I really started to ask some deep questions about life.
2 boys, 13 months apart, and with that, well, Mel decided it was too hard for us to be going to church with the 2 boys, even though I wanted to go.
When we were 17, and we'd been friends for a couple of years, and one night at a party, we both confessed that we liked one another, and then I assumed that meant, well, we were going to start going out, but he came back to me a week later and he said, "Oh, sorry, I've thought about it. I can't go out with you because you're not a Christian."
And 2.5 months after we moved here, I had our third child, and of course the time came that she had to be baptised, the same as the 2 boys had been. I just rang the minister up and said I wanted to have her baptised, and he said, "Well, we would like to meet you." So we did.
Year 12, and I just felt that the answers or the things that the world was putting forward I didn't feel like they really filled the big gap that I was feeling in my life. And I really struggled and felt, well, what's the point of studying really hard to get a good mark in the HSC, to go off to uni, study hard, get a good job, earn lots of money, and have everything you want, and that's what the world was pushing as success. But I just saw that as being hollow and didn't really feel like it was the answer to why I was here.
I decided that Christianity was pretty stupid if it wouldn't let me and this boy I liked, who liked me, pretty big deal when you're 17, go out. So I think I set out to prove him wrong.
I was invited to a ladies group that used to meet once a month, and actually that was the only time that I really went out to that. And of course I was mixing conversation with Christian ladies and heard the testimony of a few.
A scripture teacher at Canterbury Boys High who was probably my only Christian teaching at that point in time, and so I started reading my Bible.
I was pretty mad and I just wanted to find a loophole basically. So I started reading the Bible and finding out what it was all about. I respected him, so I wanted to find out why he would hold this position so strongly. Like this position that just didn't make any sense to me.
1962, there was a 3-night evangelistic meetings in the church that I was going to.
I read A Sneaking Suspicion by John Dixon, and I read God in the Docks by Kel Richards, and I also looked at the 2 Ways to Live CD-ROM.
Through that scripture teacher, came to know that I needed a relationship with God and I needed Jesus in my life. And at that point, it seemed to, it was the answer to that big hole in my life, and nothing else could fill that hole.
And the CD-ROM was fantastic. It had interviews with all these different types of, all these different Christians on all these different topics, as well as presenting the 2 Ways to Live gospel. And I think I got to the point in my thinking where it was, okay, so we can't write Jesus off as a myth.
And Noel and I decided that we'd go, one could go one night and the other one could go the other night.
I think I'd prayed something dangerously along the lines of, God, if you're really there and you're real, make it real for me, help me to accept the resurrection.
On the 3rd night, Noel decided that we were all going. And of course there was appeal, and I went forward and accepted Christ as my saviour.
Believed that actually God was actually there listening, and I wasn't alone, and that Jesus had been raised from the dead. And it was in that moment that I decided to stop living for me and start living for Jesus.
Yeah, it's grace and it's grace and it's grace.
I was a bit of a reluctant convert because I was like, oh no, now I'm gonna have to be a Christian.
The reason that we went to the Presbyterian Church was because of what they believed. It wasn't because of the minister or anything like that. That's
When we got up here, probably took us a year to settle in at Ballinaprezi. We felt most at home in, and where we felt that the Bible was being taught well, and we liked the people there.
We jumped on the website. It was on about the gospel. We saw that a new night church had started up, and we thought, hey, this is a church that's trying to do more things to connect with the community. That would be a great church for us to join. Well, we came along, night church wasn't on, but we came back the next week and we thought, yep, this church is a church we can serve at.
A good year with family and friends, and growth in my life as a Christian, and hopefully we'll see some growth at our church too. I guess that's what I'm looking forward to most.
2016, I'm looking forward to growth group starting up again because I've missed our growth group.
Firstly, I'm looking forward to getting back to growth group.
Who was the boy?
That was Jono. He, so God had a plan for us, obviously.